is his faith. I am so tired of people just blaming Chanel for all that I do. Instead of allowing me to take responsibility for my actions, they sit there and say, no, it's all Chanel's fault. It doesn't matter if the facts align with this. If you dare bring up what the facts are, you're wrong because they don't align with the fantasy story we all have in our heads. You're not supposed to question the fantasy we have all come up with. You're supposed to protect the fantasy at all costs. You're supposed to blindly believe it, and you're supposed to depart from what the facts might be, just to protect our fantasy. If the truth does not align with our fantasy, then it is a love of the truth to protect our fantasy over the reality. If you bring up the reality, you're wrong, because it does not align with the fantasy we have conjured up in our minds. It is a love of the truth to pretend like our fantasy is more accurate than actual facts, reason, and logic. You know what? That sickens me, to be honest. If you are claiming we have a love of the truth, but how dare you bring up the facts because we have to protect our fantasy, then you don't have a love of the truth. Stop claiming that you do when you don't. Your fantasy is not going to become more accurate than what the facts are just because what you have in your head is something you want to protect at all costs. Stop saying that Chanel has to be at fault for stuff she didn't do, and hoping that I eventually depart from what I know to be the actual truth of the matter, just because your fantasy is all you care about. You don't care about the reality, yet you claim that it is a love of the truth to protect that fantasy in your head. That does not align with the truth at all. This community does not seem very interested in what the facts might be. They're more interested in claiming it's all Chanel's fault for anything I do, and the truth is bad because only the fantasy that they have conjured up in their minds can have the capacity to be right. If you bring up the truth, that's offensive. Only the lie can be correct. Questioning the lie is wrong. You're supposed to be okay with whatever lies, slander, bearing false witness, etc., or you are wrong. And you know what? I don't accept that. I intend to tell the truth, regardless of what happens next. Even if everybody chooses to ignore the facts because they want their fantasy story instead. They want to live in fantasy la la land where Chanel has the capacity to be responsible for things she didn't even know anything about. Well, at least the truth will be on display. If you still want to live in fantasy la la land after the truth comes out, then you will have to answer to Jesus for all of that. I do intend to tell everybody how I actually learned about everything. And I get that there's something in this reality that wants to delay that, set it back, doesn't want me to clean this up, and wants Chanel to be blamed when she didn't know anything. However, you know what? I'm tired of all the delays. I'm tired of all of that. I just want to clean up what happened here and move on. No amount of saying Chanel is at fault for stuff she didn't know anything about will make her at fault for that. You are an idiot if you believe that she has the capacity to be responsible for things she didn't even do or know about. Ours. I told you she didn't know. Yet you still insist that it's her fault somehow. You are ignoring factual information and sitting there claiming that the fantasy you have in your mind is more accurate than the facts, and hoping I buy this. It's just like the rest of the community. This entire community insists that the fantasy stories that they have in their minds are more accurate than factual information. And they claim that Jesus is the one who tells them that God that they are to be slandering Chanel. I sincerely hope that someday soon everybody will be able to finally see God doesn't want what they have done. I'm interested in our facts, logic, and reason. I have begged and begged and begged for those, and everybody says no. You will be okay with a fantasy story that doesn't even align with the facts that we have in our minds, or you will be wrong. If you don't buy into our fantasy because you have facts over fiction, you have no love of the truth, and you have somehow ceased to love Jesus. You profess a different gospel because you are rejecting our fantasy stories. And you know what? That's a load of baloney. It really is. Stop sitting there and claiming that God wants your lies and slander, and if we dare bring up facts, we have to be wrong because only the fictional story you have conjured up has the capacity to be right. Ignoring the facts just to protect the fantasy is not a love of the truth. It never will be one. So stop. Please stop insisting that it is a love of the truth to pick a fantasy over reality and hoping I believe that. Stop insisting that you are doing what God wants by slandering others and hoping that I believe that. Stop insisting that God wanted Nina to steal and hoping that I believe that. Stop insisting that your own hypocrisy is what God wants, and hoping I believe that. I'm not gonna buy it. So please, come to your senses. Please, come to your senses. And look at actual facts, logic, reason, and learn that if you are going to claim a love of the truth, then you actually need to acknowledge what the facts are instead of conjuring up fantasy stories in your heads and insisting that you have to buy those fantasies in order to be saved and hoping I buy it. No. God doesn't want what you've done. I intend to come out with the truth, no matter how many setbacks there are, regardless of anything else that might happen after. This is my mess to clean up now. She now doesn't deserve to be blamed for something she didn't do. It doesn't matter how badly you want it to be her fault. It's not. I am so sick of this. Stop claiming that God wants your fantasies over the reality. This community is so delusional. In their zeal to just blame Chanel for all that I do, they are ignoring facts as they claim to have a love of the truth. And they are hoping I depart from facts to buy into whatever fantasy they have in their heads. I'm tired of that. Please look at facts and logic, instead of claiming that the facts have to be wrong because your fantasy is all that can be correct and accurate. This is so stupid. Blaming Chanel for stuff she never did does not make you correct. It might make you popular, but popularity is not more important than truth, especially in a community that is like this. If you're gonna claim to have a love of the truth, then actually prove it. Stop saying, how dare you reject lies. It is a love of the truth to protect our lives. And hoping I buy that. Please. All I'm asking for is the truth. Stop coming up with random stuff in your heads about how everything I do ever is Chanel's fault when it's not. Stop fantasizing and start looking at facts and evidence and truth. I'm tired of your fantasies. Please, stop claiming that your fantasies are all that need to be right just because you don't like what the facts truly are. That is not a love of the truth, no matter how badly you want it to be. I will see everybody next time. Thank you for watching.